Okay, welcome everybody. This is our holiday show. We are recording from PAC TV. I want to thank Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital and Plymouth Center for Active Living. And we are going to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. So, what are we doing today? We are going to be doing Biscotti and mandelbrot. Now, what is mandelbrot? What is Biscotti? This is a biscuit. It's Biscotti, and it's twice baked. And if you're an Italian, you call it Biscotti. If you happen to be German or an Eastern European, you will call it mandelbrot. And it's delicious. It's a wonderful thing, and we are going to learn how to make it. So, first thing that we're going to do is I want to go back to the Senior Center, to the Active Living, and have Marcia speak for a moment or two, and then we'll show you how to make Biscotti and mandelbrot.
All right, thank you. I can't wait to try it. We're having hot cocoa over here at the Center for Active Living, so it smells delicious. Usually I talk about the nutrient content of the recipes that we make, but today I wanted to talk just for a few minutes about the 5 characteristics of a healthy diet. The first is adequacy, and that means we should choose foods that give us the nutrients that we need every day. We need about 40 or more nutrients. The second characteristic is called balance, and a balance is that we don't have more of one and then we end up with less of another. So for instance is blueberries are touted to be the very best fruit. If you only eat blueberries and never eat a banana, you might not get some of the nutrients in a banana. The third is calorie control, and we should try to eat in accordance with our own energy needs. The fourth, which is important for today and the holidays, is moderation. So we shouldn't practice deprivation. We shouldn't eliminate and remove those favorite foods, especially the things during the holidays that are part of our culture, the part of our traditions, just the part of the things that make our holidays so happy. So moderation is important. Today we're having cookies. Nothing wrong with having a cookie, but maybe we moderate it. Instead of having a whole sleeve of cookies, we have 1 or 2. And today's cookie, the serving size is 1. And it's a good size serving, you'll see when Jerry finishes. And each one is about 100 calories. So depending on your energy level, maybe you can have 2. And the final characteristic is variety. And we should always have a variety of foods from within each food group, a variety of grains, a variety of fruits, a variety of vegetables, a variety of dairy, so that we get all the nutrients that we need. So when you're thinking about the latest crazy diet, what to eat, what not to eat, I would like everyone to keep in mind those 5 characteristics. Is what I'm doing adequate in nutrients? Is it balanced, so I'm getting enough of each? Is it calorie controlled, so I get what I need, not too little, not too much? Is it moderate, so I still get those treats that I enjoy so much? And do I have a variety, so I get a variety of nutrients? So back to you, Jerry, so we can learn how to make our Biscotti / mandelbrot. I hope I said that right.
Very good, Marcia. Thank you. Okay. First thing we have is we have our mixer, and we're using a paddle on the mixer because it's a good way to mix flour and dry things. So in we go with the flour, a little clang there. We put some sugar in there, some baking soda. Baking soda is the leavening agent. So now we put it on 2 or so. We're going to just get it really dissolved nicely. And it's mixing, and that should do it. So
this is
we lift it
Tom.
up again, and we take 3 eggs.
Okay. All right.
We take almond extract and vanilla extract, and these are pure extracts. These are not artificial. There are artificial extracts, which I really don't like because they don't have the true flavor. So when you're shopping for an extract, make sure it says pure on the bottle. Okay, so in goes the almond, in goes the vanilla, in goes the fork and we start to mix. And we're going to bear with me a moment because we have to get this really nicely mixed. These are very fresh eggs. And we put the mixer down and we lock it in place. And we put it on 2. And we start to add our eggs and vanilla and almond. Good. Lovely. Now, one thing about this dough, you're going to notice that it doesn't come together completely. We're going to put in sliced almonds, and these are sliced, not slivered, so they're going in right now. And we're mixing away again. Please notice that with the overhead shot, you can see that it really doesn't come together like a dough. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to do some kneading. And we need to knead our we flour our work surface. And we're putting flour on our work surface right now. And to put a little bit more on there because that's not going to hurt. And I would say that is about done. So we turn it off, we unlock the head, and we are going to knead this. I'm going to put on gloves, try to keep my hands a little bit clean. If I can get into these little guys. There we go. And one more on the other side. Okay. A little clang. And there we are. Now, this does not look like a typical dough because it has not come together. But that's why we're going to knead it, because the kneading will bring it together. So bring it in like this here and work it a little bit. Make sure you got plenty of flour because it's going to stick all over the place otherwise. And we'll continue to knead. And what we'll do is we'll push it down a little bit, and we'll bring it over here, and a little bit more over there, and a little bit more over here. And we're going to continue to knead. Now, what it's doing is it's helping the flour pick up the eggs. And the picking up the eggs makes it pliable so I can work with it. Okay. Now, we're about ready. And what we want to do is we want to divide this log in half. So we'll take our little plastic cutter over here, and we'll aim it about there, and we'll take it and we make half there, and we put that to one side. Little bit of flour there. Now notice how it's coming together here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make about a 2-inch log, and we'll keep tucking the ends in a little bit. And so we're doing a little bit of rolling here, and we flip it a wee bit, and that's about a 2-inch log. Now, where is this going to go? Well, this is going to go on a baking sheet, and we're going to put a piece of parchment paper on the baking sheet. So let's do that. You can buy parchment paper, so they're already pre-cut. Lay it on here. Notice how it flattens out. And you just go a little squinch here. And now, what we want to do is we've got a 2-inch log, and it's just about the right size. So what we'll do is I want to flatten it out so it's 3 inches wide, about that wide. So we'll just do a little more squishing here. And it'll make it just a little bit longer. And there we go. It's ready. Okay, we got another one. So bear with me here for a moment, and we'll work it just a little bit. Push it down. A little bit of twist, another twist, another twist, and another twist. And we keep working it, and we're going to make another 2-inch log. Okay, there we go. Now, we're going to put that right there, and we're going to put this right here, and we're going to press it down so we get our 3-inch width. Notice how it's flattening out beautifully, and it's staying together. Didn't look like it was going to stay together before, but that's the magic of baking. One needs to know what one is doing once in a while. Okay, so we do the same thing with the other log. And now I mentioned that this is twice baked. Twice baked means that we're going to bake it first in the log shape, then we're going to cut it, and then we're going to cut it in a diagonal, and that will give us the final thing the way we want it. Now, the oven has been heated to 300 degrees. Yes, that is a very low temperature, but that's why we're going to be cooking it for 50 minutes in the log shape, and then we are going to cut it. So we put it in here, and in it goes into the oven, and we look at the board. We're going to clean this up just a little bit here. And there we go. That's a little bit neater. And wow, all of a sudden, we now have, this has been cooking for 50 minutes, and what we're going to do is we want to get the proper shape, which is going to be like this. So we're going to cut diagonals. But I'm not going to actually cut this. But that's a diagonal, that's a diagonal, that's a diagonal. What kind of a knife am I using? I'm using a serrated knife. It's a slicing knife, you can tell by the point. Okay, now we have all of these little diagonals, and we're going to lay them on another baking sheet so they look like this. Now, next thing, because it's twice baked, we got to bake it for the second time. So we take it and we put it back into the oven, and the key is 50 minutes. Just remember that when you put it in, every 25 minutes, you want to rotate the baking sheet. So it's going to be rotated like this on the rack. Now, where's the rack? Where is the rack in the oven? It's about in the middle of the oven. Okay, so magic of television. We take it out. It is now done. And they're nice and brown. There's a little bit of brownness on the top. If you overcook it, they will get hard like a rock, and they are a little bit hard right now. So I noticed that our audience at the Center for Active Living is having hot chocolate, and they're putting their Biscotti mandelbrot into the hot chocolate for about 5 seconds, and then they're tasting it, and boy, is it delicious. So we have our mandelbrot, our Biscotti. If you're Italian, it's Biscotti. If you're German or Eastern European, it's mandelbrot. So that is essentially what we are doing right now, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right. The biscotti is absolutely delicious, and we are dunking for approximately 5 seconds. We have some quality assurance experts here making sure that nobody dunks for longer or shorter. So they're absolutely delicious. And there's almonds in these, Jerry, so I wanted to comment on, I like the choice that you chose for nuts. Almonds are one of those monounsaturated fats, ones that are good for our heart. So earlier I talked about those characteristics of a healthy diet and how cookies are more about moderation. But when we think about these cookies, they do have some nutrient attributes from the almonds, and we're having it with hot chocolate, which is a good source of calcium. So I have turned this delicious snack into a healthy one for you, okay? So I'm gonna see if anybody behind me has any questions.
Marcia, can I make one comment?
Yes.
I noticed that you're drinking hot chocolate. It's
Yes.
also good with coffee. It's wonderful with espresso at the finish of a meal, but it's also good if you want to dip it into a nice glass of red wine or in a set. or Pernod or something that you happen to like dipping into. So
Yeah, I think
take
I'm
it
going to
away,
try
Marcia.
anisette. Okay, anisette sounds good to me. All right, so we did have 2 questions. One is from Marilyn. Okay. Would there be a way to modify this recipe if a person wanted to have a softer cookie?
The problem with doing that is that you won't have the texture of the typical biscotti. Now, yes, it can be done. Instead of doing the twice bake, you can extend the first bake a little bit longer and then cut it, and then do less on the second bake. And it'll give it, because the moisture is still in there. Personally, I don't think it's a great idea. Personally, I would rather just have it the way it is.
Maybe do a different cookie.
Yes.
Yeah, if you wanted it softer. Okay, and yes.
To make it a little bit more festive, can we use like the colored candies, like the citron and cherries that you get in the produce section? Put that in and make it a little more
Okay.
festive. And also wax paper, the same as parchment paper.
Okay, 2 questions. One is to make these cookies a little bit more festive. Could you add some of those colorful, dried kind of fruits? And the second part of the question was, is parchment paper the same as wax paper?
Parchment paper is not the same as wax paper. Parchment paper doesn't have wax on it if you do not use wax paper. At the temperature that we're working at, the wax will melt and you're going to have wax-coated biscotti, which I don't think is a great idea.
No.
So wax paper and parchment paper are totally different.
Yeah, good question. And the fruit, adding the little fruit. And what
Yes,
did you call them?
I was going to comment on. Pieces of fruit in here would be delicious. Some of the dried fruits, you can cut back. There's 6 ounces of slivered almonds in here. So why not do 3 ounces of almonds? I like the almonds because of the crunch, but the fruit would be delicious also. And just try to get the fruit somewhat the same size as the almonds.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay?
Other questions? No. Yeah. Another great question. Could you make the batter and hold it for a little bit, or do you need to bake these right away?
You can do that. What I would suggest you doing is wrap it in a plastic wrap and put it into the refrigerator. But in order to get it to work, where you want it to spread out and to be able to make the shape that we're talking about, the log shape, and then to spread the log shape out, you need to let it warm up to room temperature.
Okay, so that they rise. Yep, excellent.
Okay?
Yep.
Everything's delicious.
Marcia, normally you have a couple of questions that you call Stump the Chef.
I'm thinking.
What do you got for me today?
Here, I have one more. So, yeah, now there's a question about, is there a way you could cook these so that you didn't have to do the double bake? Is there a way you could cook them faster?
Not really. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could take this, instead of putting it into a log, and you could cut it in a typical cookie shape, the round shape, and cook them individually. That's the only way to make it cook faster. But that's not what we're trying to do here. If you try to do that, you'll have a typical cookie and you decide you want to put it into your hot coffee or your hot cocoa, it's going to fall apart on you. So yes, you can do that. It's the double bake is giving you that lovely hardness, the little crunch at the end. And that's the purpose of it.
Yeah. So I have been trying to think of my Stump the Chef question, and I can't think of anything.
Oh,
I
come
know,
on, you
I'm
got to have
feeling a little
something.
inadequate.
Okay. Let
How
me
about a
tell
Stump
you.
the Dietitian question?
Okay.
Oh, so we got one more question. After you bake the cookies, what's the shelf life?
That's a good question. The best thing to do is put it into a Ziploc bag, and you'll probably get 3, 4, 5 days out of it. But just remember, this is a cookie, this is a biscuit that is kind of hard, and the key really is to dip it into something that you happen to like to drink. And I think it would work very well. I also intuitively think that you could take this and they could be frozen. And a lot of cookies can be frozen, and they work quite well when they are frozen.
Yeah,
So,
I would think that, yeah.
One other thing, Marcia made a very good comment on moderation. And I totally believe in that. You know, 100 calories is not a huge amount, but you don't want to eat a half a dozen of these things and drink a half a glass of wine with it, because that's not moderation. A very wonderful cook that I was fortunate enough to know in the Boston area, Julia Childs, was sitting at a conference one time, and a young reporter came over to her and said, "Ms. Childs, how do you justify eating the way you're eating? There's a lot of fat, there's butter, you're having a couple of glasses of wine." And she said, "My dear, I don't eat like this all the time. Everything in moderation." And she's absolutely right. And she was a charming woman, very bright, literally changed the restaurant scene in the Boston area, and was good for those of us that like to eat.
Yeah, yeah. I know that's the wonderful thing about moderation. And a lot of times during the holiday time, I get requests from people wondering how can they, make a low-fat cheesecake or change one of their traditional favorite desserts. And my response is the same. It's like, no, this is the time that you have those favorites. And maybe don't have them all the time throughout the year, but during the holiday seasons when we get to have those favorite things that aren't always available, we should enjoy them. And that's a concept called mindfulness. And we hear a lot about mindfulness when it comes to relaxation and being centered and balanced. But mindfulness definitely has a place in our nutrition. And we should be mindful of what we eat. We should enjoy it. And we need to change this love-hate relationship that has begun to develop around food, that thinking that some foods are bad for us, other foods are better for us. All food is food. We need to eat, and we just need to maybe be mindful of what we're eating, where we're eating it, when we're eating it, how much. So we have all had a lovely time watching you prepare the cookies while we were dunking in our hot chocolate. And I don't think anybody here would deny that it was a very pleasant, enjoyable experience, right? It was nice. You tasted it. We were eating slow. We were relaxed. That's the way we should always eat. Yes. Yep, we have a question about mindfulness. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So some of the strategies that you can employ to eat slower. Yeah, the question was about eating slower, and a little preface to that. It's this: we've got nervous system cells in the brain that connect with the stomach. So the messages don't pass back and forth for about 20 minutes. So if you eat faster than 20 minutes, you might not feel full because the message from your belly hasn't gotten to your brain to give you that sense of satiety or fullness. So eating slower is a great way to become more mindful. If you're eating with a fork or a spoon, take a bite, put the fork or the spoon down. If you're eating a sandwich, take a bite, put the sandwich down. Sip water in between. Try not to be distracted. Try not to be watching TV or paying attention to your phone. If you are visiting with somebody, chat and talk and enjoy each other's company. And that will definitely slow things down. Now, with that said, sometimes if you slow things down too much, you might actually overeat if there's a lot of food on the table. So being mindful is just increasing your awareness of what's right in front of you without judgment. That's the key to mindfulness, without judgment. Yeah. So we should do a show on that, Jerry.
I would like to.
All right. I love talking about mindfulness.
One thing about mindfulness is that I've found that I like to be with other people when I'm eating. And the reason being is that the conversation, whether it's a discussion on the food we're eating, or whether it's talking about politics, or whether we're going to have a white Christmas, or whatever, it tends to slow your eating down a little bit, and it also helps stopping you from overeating.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess if you're alone and you need a TV or you want some music on, it's okay, but you just want to keep in mind to stay mindful, to keep eating slow, because I know sometimes people like to have a little distraction while they eat. So I don't know how we're doing with time. We're wrapping it up.
Oh, okay, Marcia, I just want to say thank you to the audience, and we appreciate PAC TV and Beth Israel Deaconess and the Center for Active Living for helping us with our show. And enjoy the holiday, everybody. Have a merry and safe holiday. Take care.
Take care. The same with me. Take care, everybody.